Record button.
Okay, you're
I
recorded.
I see that.
So welcome to our class. This is the business of sport. This is Neil Schwartz coming to us from South Florida today, right?
I am Boca Raton.
Okay, Boca Raton. You're teasing me with all of your orange and blue there because I know you're not a Mets fan, but I appreciate the gesture.
Well, I am a Syracuse University fan, and of course they are orange and blue. And I'm also a University of Florida Gator fan. I sent my daughter and my money there, so what can I tell you? Orange and blue seems to be my two colors these days.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think you're getting a lot of sympathy on the Syracuse here, but okay. Anyway, everyone has had a chance to look at your bio and understand a little bit more about you. We're fired up, as they say, to hear about the offering that your company has and how we're going to then translate it or parlay it, I should say, into a project coming out of this. So, can I turn it over to you?
That would be perfect. Although, wait a minute, did I just lock up?
No.
Oh no, I'm fine. No, I thought I did. Okay, nope, all good.
And are you able to share your screen?
I will not yet. I have a little preamble, and then I will share my screen, and then hopefully, before I get started. First, I want to thank Professor for inviting me in today. As you're going to find out, I love talking about the business of sports. I mean, I love sports. I grew up with sports. As I mentioned, I went to Syracuse University. Got my graduate degree at UCLA, two universities known for sports. I am a sports fan. Can't run away for it. Just out of curiosity, what I always like to do at the top of these is, how many of you think you might want to make the business of sports, something, that would be your career choice, just out of curiosity? I know it's a little hard to see hands, but.
A lot of hands are up.
Good. The business of sports is great because it's a lot of fun. It may, however, not be exactly what you think it is. While everybody would love to go to work for the New York Mets and the New York Yankees and the New York Jets and Giants, so forth, those jobs are few and far between. But there are a lot of amazing jobs in things like sports travel and sports hospitality, ticket sales. There's just so many opportunities in the sports business in places where, you'll be able to, start your career in sports, sponsorship activation, things like that. So that's really, what we're going to be hoping that we're going to be talking about today is, one, how does data fit into that process? And I am going to share my screen. At least I hope I am. Are we seeing it, I hope?
Yes.
Good. So what I'm going to do today is I want to talk to you a little bit about SBRnet. We're going to put it hopefully into context, because that's really what data is all about, not just being able to look at data for the sake of data. And we hope to demystify it. As Professor said, one of the things he's going to ask you to do is to select 4, 5, 6 data points from the data you're going to look at today, or other data, in fact, and then tell a story. But we're going to talk a little bit about how do you do that exactly. So before I go too far, I want to talk a little bit about my company, SBRnet. So we are a leading provider of data and market analytics for the business of sports. We're not about player analytics. I don't do team analytics. That's not what we're about. We're about the business side of sports. So if it's about selling season ticket packages, if it's about streaming, if it's about sponsorship acquisition, if it's about social media targeting, if it's about any of those things, that's what we focus on. And in fact, one of the things we're going to focus on today is sports gambling, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go. I love to talk about the topic. It's actually kind of a fun topic to talk about. Just out of curiosity, and I promise your parents will never see this, how many of you have gambled on sports in one form or another? Yeah, like a lot of people, we all have. So we're going to talk a little bit about it today, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the numbers mean. But just so you know, I'm not just some guy the professor pulled in off the street with this. I've been in the marketing research business for 26 years, 20 of which focused on sports. So whether it's been point of sales data in the sports business, participation data, consumer research, or the type of research we're going to look at today, the sports business is what I'm all about. And I love it. I honestly love it. It's fun. You know what they say, if it's fun and you enjoy it, it'll never seem like work. Guess what? Never seems like work to me. Only those days when my partner yells at me for something. But what we focus on most importantly, or most important, is our annual study of sports fans. So every year in the first quarter of the year, we go out and measure sports fans. This year we measured about 6,400 and change. We collect data on 19 separate sports, so professional, college, individual sports like golf and tennis, motor racing. We've got the big three of IndyCar, NASCAR, and Formula One. I said college, but also minor league sports, baseball, hockey, and esports, women's sports. So we really cover I'm going to hate myself for this, but we really cover the wide world of sports. We do. And we cover it rather comprehensively. We cover it with demographics. We look at habits and behaviors. We look at streaming media. And we're going to talk a little bit about the effect of streaming media. We just gather a huge amount of data on sports fans. Now, all of the data that we're going to look at today is what they call representative of the entire U.S. population for people 13 years and older. So, without getting too sciencey on you, what we've done is we have built a model of the market based on age, income, ethnicity, geography, gender, education, and presence of children in the household. So we then build this model of the market. We then collect the data to suit the model. And then we what they call weight the data appropriately to equal the numbers that we're going to look at today. Have any of you, just out of curiosity, in any situation you've been in, worked with data or worked with numbers or done anything like that, just out of curiosity? In any, Can one of you just give me a sentence that maybe, a data-oriented sentence that, that might tell me, you get a little bit of understanding of it? How many people watch the game, the Jets game, unfortunately, for the Jets Monday night? How many plays did Aaron Rodgers actually play? Gentleman in the front row. Dark hair.
3, 4.
Four. Aaron Rodgers played in 4 plays. That is a fact. Correct? It's a fact. We're going to talk a little bit about facts today and data, but the biggest thing is, are you data driven? I am. I allow data to do a lot of my storytelling for me. You're going to learn how to tell a story with insights, because data brings insights to life, and insights bring your stories to life. So we're going to tell a lot of stories, hopefully, with the various projects that the professor's going to, is going to have you do during the course of this term. So it's a very interesting process. First, I know that some of you, I guess, are already aware on how to access our data and our site. Of course, the site is SBRnet. Up on the screen right now is the link that leads to the site from your library. I got it this morning. Thank you very much, Casey Hampsey. And then below it is the explanation of what we're all about. How many of you have been on our site already? How many of you have taken a look at it already? This is getting disappointing here, guys. How many of you have seen this?
It's a large handful.
Okay, good. It's hard for me to see, so I appreciate that. So it's a great site. And what we're going to do is, during the course of the afternoon, is that we're going to go over a number of different areas and a number of different aspects of the site, because what we like to focus is on data, of course, but we also like to focus on content that helps support that data. We also like to focus on articles and things that could be helpful to you as you're doing your various research projects. But I'm going to go away from this for a minute. Oops. There we go. We back to the PowerPoint just to make sure. Okay, cool. Cool. So, you always have to start when you're doing, some sort of research, some sort of project, some sort of effort. You got to start with a topic. And Professor and I had a discussion earlier in the week, and we talked about sports gambling. And we talked about using our data in the context of establishing a sports gambling partnership with the Jets or the Giants. Curious, how many of you are Jet fans in the room? About how many? More? How many of you are Giant fans? It looks like more.
Yeah, mostly Giant fans.
Okay, well, you're going to see the numbers that I'm going to show. You're going to really back that up. In fact, when I look at, it's almost 3-1 or 3.5-1 number of Jets fans nationally versus Giants fans. So Giants have got a fairly large following, but let's not kind of get ahead of ourselves too much. But again, we're going to talk about sports gambling. But again, there are literally 65 different categories of data. Everything from gambling to travel to fantasy sports to purchase of licensed merch. So we know how much licensed merchandise everybody's buying. So it's really very comprehensive. But after we've chosen our topic, we wrote it down. Good for us. We want to understand the issues, challenges, and the market. What's going on? The state of New York allows online sports gambling. It's been approved for over a year. Anybody? How many people here have online gambling accounts with fantasy? One of the, I live in Florida, and frankly, I'm not supposed to have an online account, but I do. But we'll talk about that too. But, again, we talk about understanding the issues, challenges, and market, and we're going to use our SBRnet search feature as our first step for that. That's where I always say go first. Hey, I go there first. Second place I usually go, though, is to Google. Do not underestimate Google or ChatGPT. I've been using ChatGPT, or I use this other AI, I forgot what it's called, but there's another AI chat function or search function that I love, that I find I actually have better success with. But once we've been on SBRnet, we're going to choose our data. What data are we going to focus on? If we're going to talk about gambling, we're going to look at sports gambling. If we're going to talk about travel, we're going to look at sports travel. If we're going to look at just, let's say, selling tickets or seats, we're going to maybe look at demographics or attendance. So there's a number of things. So you choose your data. And, and that's, again, a starting place. You're going to organize it and you're going to clean it. The problem with such a large database and such a large amount of data is you cannot bite off the whole thing. It's just impossible. I don't do it. You can't do it. I wouldn't advise. Pick what you need. Organize it. Use it. It's already in Excel. All you got to do is do a bunch of cutting and pasting and create new charts, new Excel spreadsheets, whatever you need to be. I will tell you, though, you don't have to know any specialized data analytics. You don't have to be a pro with RStudio or Tableau or Microsoft BI. Really, Excel is really all you need. The next thing is you create visualizations. Visualizations are those charts and graphs that we've all seen in all sorts of presentations. The visualizations are where you start to generate insights, because insights are where you plug in those observations and facts. Facts being Aaron Rodgers lasted 4 plays in his first game, in his debut game with the New York Jets. Fact, the New York Jets won the game in overtime with a punt return. Again, a fact. Observational fact. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But then you put it all together to tell a story. Frankly, that's the thing that's going to help you the most when you start looking for a job. Look, there's a lot of people out there can move data around, do a lot of fancy things with data. They can. But there's not as many people that know how to tell a story. What is that story telling you? And then what do you do about it? And that's hopefully what we're going to get into today. So remember I said first, where do you go first? Well, we like to start on the website. And we go to SBRnet, Sports Market Analytics. We go to our search function up here in the upper right-hand corner. And in this case, I typed in gambling. And I hit enter. The first thing that will happen is up will come a series of articles that our analysts have chosen specifically for SBRnet as they relate to the particular topic. So in this case, on the left-hand side, what do you see are the articles that have been put in. These have been put in as yesterday. Sports handle. Bettors know all about responsible gambling, but most don't practice it. You know, that's an interesting article, maybe something you want to look at. You want to look at things like Rodgers potentially season-ending injury rocks the Jets' futures odds. Well, you know what? That's going to be an interesting point. New York topped the $1 billion mark in sports wagering revenue for 2023. By the way, that was the largest in the country for online sports gambling. Not the largest total, because Las Vegas is still the mecca, let's say. But we always start here at the search feature on SBRnet. Do your homework. Learn what's important. Remember I said, understand the market. Understand what's going on out there. This is the great place to do it. So this is where I would talk to you about starting your search. Go to the SBRnet site, upper right-hand corner, type in, and look, just don't type in one word, type in gambling, type in sports gambling, type in gambling New York Jets, type in gambling New York Giants, type in online gambling, type in as many different combinations that might yield you different results. Same thing, by the way, with Google. Don't just, it kind of bothers me a lot of times when I talk to students and they Google something and they always just go to the first 2 articles, that come up or whatever. Go deeper. Get deeper involved. Go deeper into the search. Can't stress that enough. So then, what do we want to do? We want to talk about, we started collecting and organizing data. I'm going to show you the data I selected for this particular example. But let me talk to you a little bit first about how to read it, and then I'm going to go backwards. So remember what I told you, all of our data. Oh, by the way, Professor, how long do I have today?
About another 35 minutes.
Easy. I could do that easy. So, and I would like to leave some room for questions at the end. So what you're looking at here is data that was cut directly from the SBRnet site. Now, Iona has not subscribed to this depth or this granular of a level of data. I'm working on that. But I did make it available. Professor has this file that we're looking at right now. But what are we looking at? What we're looking at is I just cut a small part of the data, and here's what it says. It says in 2022, there were 8,031,000 New York Giant fans nationwide. All of this data add 3 zeros to all of the whole numbers. 8,031,000.
Hold on, Neil.
Go ahead.
Do we understand that? Do we see that? The 8,031 looks like 8,031. It's really 8 million and a comma.
Add 3 zeros.
So 8 million Giants fans around the nation.
How many Jets fans are there? Is it easy to see?
It is easy to see. What's the answer? 2.7 million, almost 2.8 million.
So 2.8 million fans around the United States of the New York Jets. Remember I said it was about 3.5 to 1? Well, that just shows you. What you saw in class was actually pretty indicative of what we show right here. But we're going to talk a little bit more. The Eagles have a following of almost 6.8 million fans. The Steelers, 7.3 million fans. So remember, add 3 zeros to all of your whole numbers. The numbers are in what we call thousands, or adding 3 zeros. But we're going to skip down a little bit. We're going to skip down to the next big line, which says gambled, place bets on sporting events, games, in the past 12 months, any sport. Of that 8,031,000 fans, 1.6, let's round it up to 2 million, gambled of the Giants fans.
See that? Yep.
950,000 Jets fans. 1.1 million Eagles fans. 1.1 million Steelers fans. So this tells you, which fans are generating the most interest. But now I'm going to stop for a second because the next thing is really super interesting. Hold on. Let me go back to my little chart here. So we'll do it this way. So now you're going to make a presentation to one of the big online. You're going to go to BetMGM, or you're going to go to Caesars, or you're going to go to one of the big gambling companies. You're going to go to DraftKings, or you're going to go to one of the other online betting sites. Remember, gambling is legal in the state of New York. But you want to make a pitch to them focusing on, let's say, one of the New York NFL teams. So if you were going to a sports gambling company, which team would you naturally think of to present or talk about to the sports gambling operator? Anybody want to take a shot?
Based on what we're seeing?
Based on what you see right now. I would just focus on the numbers right now. Don't focus on the percentages yet.
What Jets?
The Jets?
That's an interesting call. Why'd you say that, just out of curiosity?
Because if I look at the amount of people who are placing bets, I know that the 950,000 out of a total population of 2.7 is larger percentage-wise compared to the other three.
Give that, whoever that was, dude, that is right on the money. Because why? Yeah, while the New York Giants have more fans, absolute number of fans that gamble, the number is 20%, what they call the vertical percent, or market share. I'm sure that's a term you've heard. But New York Jets fans, 34.3% of Jets fans are likely to gamble. Now, if you're a marketer, you're going to do a partnership. Yeah, of course you'd like to make sure that you get the most people possible, but what you really want to do is you want to get the most people possible for the amount of money you spend. We have a word for that. It's called value. You want to mix the quality and the quantity. And in this case, who was the gentleman that picked the New York Jets, by the way? What's your name?
Shend.
Oh, Shen. Your analytics or your analysis of this particular situation were right on the money. 34.3% of Jets fans gamble on sports, 20% of Giants fans. For my money, I'd be looking at Jets fans. And by the way, I am not a Jet fan, just to let you know.
Very few of us are in this country. But go back to that slide, Neil.
You bet. I'm going to come back to it again, but that's okay.
I just want to make sure everybody is 100% clear. So this is the 34.3%, meaning 1 out of every 3 New York Jets fans has gambled or placed a bet. 950 of 2766 is about 34%. The number for the Giants is 20%. Rounding here, it's for the Eagles is 17%. And the Steelers is about 15%. So we look at this 2 ways. Neil, can you just explain a little bit the difference between vertical and horizontal?
Yeah, the vertical percentage, it looks at just the percentage or the number of people within that specific column. So in this case, the number 1.617 relates to the 8 million. The 950,000 relates to the 2.76 million for the Jets. So that if you do the division of that, you divide, 1617 by 8031, you get 20.1. We just did the division for you.
Yeah, and then so on the row, the horizontal percent above that, where we have
That's the percent of all NFL fans. So when I look at all teams, yeah, the New York Giants have a high percentage of amongst all NFL teams, but again, that's less of a critical number than the vertical percent.
Okay.
I don't use horizontal that much, Professor, to be honest with you. I find I use it in a very limited case.
Can you say this? 5.2% of all NFL fans are Giant fans?
That gamble. Oh, wait. Yes.
2% of all NFL fans are Jet fans?
Yes. 4.4% are Eagles fans. I'd be in that group. 4.8 are Steelers fans. Yes, that's how you would read it. You read it across the whole, and I'll show you what the data looks like in a minute. By the way, I cut and pasted this out of the data. You know what? While we're here, let's do this.
Before you go on, any questions? Because throwing a lot at you.
I am.
Does it seem to make sense? Does it not make sense? Ask the questions because this is the first time you're seeing it, so there's no issue. Chris, you good?
I have a question.
Okay.
So on the bottom, it says like online sportsbook, like the US one.
Mhm.
Would it be like specifically like, do most bettors like go to one specific sports book? Like let's say some people use FanDuel and then some people use DraftKings sort of say. Like, is there like a percentage of like which people use like a specific sports book, or is it just like US?
No, we actually break down the individual sports books. I wasn't necessarily going to go there today, but you know what? Give me a second. I'll show you exactly how it breaks down.
Don't divert yet.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's not a problem. I want to make sure but I want to make it's. Let me pull this in front here real quick. Hang on. Give me a second. And I know it's going to be small. I'm going to try to make it a little bigger real quick. So the answer is, whoops. I went to what teams are they betting on? Sorry about that. Hang on.
Just the visual, all the data that's collected is unbelievable.
By the way, all of the data, and you're going to see this shortly. Why is it so small all of a sudden? It was huge like a minute ago. Okay. So when I show you the data, one of the things you're going to see is that all of it's divided in the table of contents. So you won't have to do what I just did, which was pretty stupid, I might add. But you can go directly. There we go. You can go directly and look at which service people are using. And you can look at it on a team by team basis. So I'm going to scoot all the way over here, and you can see, for instance, that for the New York Giants, 658,000 use DraftKings, 437,000 use FanDuel. So you can get an idea again, how it all breaks down. So what was the gentleman's name that asked me about that?
Chris,
you can get that data on a service by service basis. One of the things you can also get that's kind of fun, and I think it's right here, is There's actually a question somewhere about more or less. Hold on. I forgot where it is. So you can get some very specific data again when it comes to gambling, and you can relate it to a number of different things. You can compare it to teams, you can compare it to you could do this against all teams in New York. You could take the Knicks, you could take the Nets, you could take the Rangers, the Islanders. You could do all of this. So yes, that is part of it. But let me show you something interesting here while we're here. So US online sportsbook. For New York Giants, approximately 1 million fans utilize a US online sportsbook. But for the Jets, it's 637,000. But again, the Jets have a higher vertical percent. What does that mean? Anybody want to kind of take a shot at it?
You see what Neil's talking about?
I was going to point to it, but I just realized if I point to it, you don't see what I'm pointing to.
Pointing 65-7, 67-1.
There. What is it?
Matt?
You used the US online sportsbook in the past 12 months?
Yes. That Jets fans are more likely to be using, now it's not a huge percent. It's actually, look, I don't want to get, again, too sciencey, but it's within the margin of error. But again, Jets fans are more likely to be gambling. We saw that before, 34.3% of them, and 67.1% of them are likely to be using a U.S. sports book, which is slightly higher than Giants fans. I do not know if it's higher or lower than, let's say, Knicks fans or, Yankee fans or Met fans. I do not know that.
What would you think the reason would be why the Steelers are relatively low by comparison? The Eagles are in the same ballpark. The Steelers are precipitously lower than those three teams. Any sense of why that might be?
Well, the biggest reason I think is that number one is that online gambling is not as accessible in the state of Pennsylvania as it is New York right now. It's just starting. And there are more outlets, more casino outlets, or, there's just more places. Well, actually, you know what? More people are actually going to a brick and mortar casino to place bets on the Steelers. You know what? I don't know the answer to that question. You just hit me with something I don't know the answer to, which is not the first time, by the way.
One other related question, obviously the New York football teams are in New Jersey. Does New Jersey have legalized sports betting?
Yes.
They do, okay.
Yes. In fact, the funny part was that before I even bought SBRnet, I knew a bunch of guys on Wall Street who used to take the PATH train like every day across to New Jersey. They would have their online accounts keyed to New Jersey, and because they use your location services, and they would have online sports books, that they would be betting, and then they would be coming back into New York where they lived. It's kind of funny, actually. So we now know this data. So what do we do with it? Well, we put it into visualizations. We create a visualization. Here's the example, though, that we just looked at. We know that there are approximately, what was the number again? 1.6 million New York Giant fans that gamble on sports. There are approximately 950,000 New York Jets fans that gamble on sports. But the interesting thing is that Jet fans are 14% more likely to be gambling than Giants fans. It's not always about the quantity. It's about quality also. Remember, advertisers spend $1. They want the highest return on investment they can from their marketing dollars. You are more likely to get a higher return on investment from New York Jet fans when it comes to sports gambling. You're going to get more Giants fans if you do it with the Giants, but it's going to cost you more to get them. Professor, do you want to explain that a little bit?
Okay, so do we understand what Neil said? There's a higher concentration of Jets fans than Giant fans that place online sports gambles. But in terms of sheer numbers, there are more Giants fans doing it, but the Jets are a riper audience. There are more people by percentage that are engaged in this than Giant fans, even though you could reach more people if you bought media against the Giants. But in fact, the Jets fans are the ones that are doing this with more propensity.
Think of,
And
yeah, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Think of MetLife Stadium for a minute. How many of you have been to MetLife? I have. MetLife
Many.
Stadium holds what? 90,000, 80,000, 80, whatever the number is. How many?
1,000.
81. Is that what you said?
81,000. Packed for both Giants and Jets, correct? Sold out, theoretically?
Well, the Jets sell about half, but the Giants are sold out, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the Jets are actually sold out too. So my point is that if you use the microcosm of the home game and you threw a gambling tent over the stadiums when they play, you're more likely to hit a fan that gambles in MetLife, a Jet fan that gambles in MetLife Stadium than you are a Giant fan. Everybody understand that?
Yes.
Because that is super important.
So sometimes we think it's about volume, but other times it's about usage. And we determine as a brand, how would we want to advertise this? How would we want to take advantage of this? So just want to show you the numbers tell a story that we wouldn't have expected. You're like, wow, there's so many more Giant fans out there. But in fact, if you were looking for sports bettors, you'd want to go against a Jet audience.
So as to kind of move this along a little bit, because I know I don't have that much time, but so you want to generate insights. So in this case, we know the Giants have over 8 million fans nationally versus 2.8 million for the Jets. Fact. 34.2% of Jets fans are more likely to gamble on sports than the 20.1% of New York Giants fans nationally. Fact. 67.1% of New York Jets fans are more likely than the 65.7% of Giant fans to use one of the online sports books. Facts. These are all facts and insights that will build you to a final story. Who wants to tell me a little story about the data that we've looked at here today? This is a big ask, I know. Anybody want to take a shot at it?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
The Jets have a much riper audience if you're looking to advertise for sports betting, especially with online sports books.
I think that's a really good story, and that's a great place for you to start. So, well done. Well done. You totally understand that. So you would go to that and all that, and start talking about the Jets before the Giants. You would do like in a meeting before, like I just did. How many here are Jets fans? How many here are Giants fans? How many here place to bet? How many here have never placed a bet? You do all this, but you have a lot of facts already in your possession. So let's talk about where you go, what do you do, and things like that. So this is the SBRnet site. This is where you will get your data. The data that you will most likely would normally use is here in what we call our premium data section. Now, the good news is all of the data that is collected over the many years I've been collecting this for all the leagues, is here. Every sport, every year, but this does not allow you to do the team-by-team comparisons that we were using today. Professor has the file that comes from here. I'm going to talk, by the way, to your library about getting access to this data. This is where you would gain access to the team-by-team data to do a project to compare one team to another. By the way, I don't know if any of you, how many of you are soccer fans? Are you, I'm becoming one, I have to admit.
Players and fans in the room.
the data on soccer, I mean, I got yelled at the other day by my social media guy because he says, enough with the soccer talk already, enough with the soccer posts, enough with the messy stuff, enough. Well, I can't get enough of it right now. I just can't. And, if soccer is something that you're interested in, our soccer data is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, our players are better than Messi.
Okay.
He knows the eye, they make Messi look.
Okay. So, a couple of things that I think are really important. Number one is that one of the things I talked a little bit about was content. You have access to a lot of content. Look, if you're serious about a job in sports, you might want to start listening to a couple of the podcasts that are available. You don't need to listen to all of them because who has time for that? Hell, I don't listen to all of that. But what I do is I went down our list, which we have curated for you, and most of them right now are gambling. And we've created a list of podcasts. If you're like, let's say you want to create an apparel brand. That's what you want to do. Well, the Apparel Entrepreneur Podcast, is something you should be listening to. So here is a curated list of podcasts, by the way, including mine. Mine's called My First Job in Sports. We do a podcast. We've done 2 years now. We interview people at different stages of their careers, mostly in first, second, or third jobs. And we learn what it took for them to get that all-important first job in sports. If you're serious about a job in sports, you know what? You need to be listening to a couple of these. I mean, you can watch them on YouTube, but you know what? You're sitting on the subway, you're sitting on the bus, you're in between classes, and you might be in the running business. Well, listen to D'Anthony White. He was tremendous. We've got a number of episodes. You can determine who you want to listen to. Russ Scabetti is vice president of strategy. Russ Scabetti has probably reached as high a level in sports data analytics as anybody in the industry. He is somebody I look up to. And he works for the Giants. He is just awesome. Social media. Who are you following on social media? It's not just about like influencers and folks that I know the Gen Z audience likes to follow, but you know what? Pick a couple of people that relate to the business that you want to go in. One of my favorites, by the way, is Alex Silverman. You know what? I don't even know if Alex has a. Alex is on. I don't even know if it's going to show up. Yeah, here he is. So Alex is sports business reporter at Sports Business Journal and Morning Consult. Well, formerly at Morning Consult, they were bought out. So again, he is somebody that you might want to follow. So again, pick out who you might want to be following when it comes to, your business. Look, if you're serious about a job in sports, then it's not just about learning about the data, which is important. Let me ask a question here. What do you read first thing in the morning? Anybody want to volunteer what they read every day? Anybody reading, I don't know, Wall Street Journal? Bloomberg? New York Times? These are the kinds of things that you need to be taking a look at. Wall Street Journal actually does a good job on sports. Bloomberg Sports does a wonderful job. These are the kinds of, and you don't have to read every article. Hell, I don't read every article. I don't even read half of them. But every morning, what do? I get up and I have it, I get the news feeds, I get the emails, I look at them, I decide what stories, what things are important to me, what things are not. So I have a little bit, are there any questions about any of the things that we talked about here today? Professor, any questions in there?
So I don't see any hands. So everyone feels like they can create a story. What are the two ways we're going to get access to this data? There are two ways we're going to get access to the data? Well, I'm gonna share a link with you, so yes. What's the other?
Library data?
The library.
Yep.
Library. So I'm gonna forward you the link, although you should be, all you have to do is go to iona.edu and go to the library page and you'll find databases. So I'll make sure that you understand how to do that. You can also come directly to the website, but you could get lost in the data here. There are so many numbers and it's sliced and diced in so many ways that, hopefully you'll sort of lose yourself in it and just sort of have fun looking at all the data. You will not believe the number of different aspects of sports that are being queried and researched and looked at. You think, I'm just watching the score from last night. It's so much deeper and so much more involved than, any of that. This is a true business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. And it's resources like this that begin to separate you from the pack. So when job opportunities come available and you are familiar with some of this data, and I don't mean every single number, but how to access it and how to tell a story from it, you're gonna have a leg up on competition.
One of the students that uses our data at NYU, David Sutherland, he was pretty good with data, I have to say, and he went for a job between his junior and senior year. Actually, what's the name? Not the Red Bulls. What's the name of the other New York MLS team? Thank you.
Yeah.
So he goes to them and he applies for a job in their data in their data analytics. They want to sell more seats. They want to sell more season ticket packages. They want to generate more revenue. All the things that every other team wants to do. In the middle of the presentation, David pulls out two graphs that he put together to show for the person he was interviewing what the challenges are, why the fans of the Red Bulls were different than the fans of the New York Football Club. The guy on the other end of the desk who was hiring said to David, "Where did you get this? And tell me how you got to your conclusions," because he was fascinated by what he saw. David called me the day after and said, "You would not believe how this conversation went." A, he got the job, but B, he said the person on the other side of the desk, it wasn't just about, well, tell me your experience, tell me the things you've done, tell me what you want to do, tell me what you learned, tell me your core and all that. He wanted to talk about the data. I also, by the way, they came to us and bought the data, so that was good too. But data can change everything. Okay, it can change your trajectory for a job. It can change your opportunities. It can change everything for you, like it has for me. I want to thank Professor for inviting me in today. Look, I know there's probably going to be a lot more questions. If you want to try to, if you want to reach out to me, I can't obviously spend a lot of time with it, but I'm always available at neil@sbrnet.com. I can answer some questions or help.
I'm gonna say the question should be funneled through me and I'll send them
Okay.
off.
That's fair. So again, a lot of data to use. Don't get don't get yourself twisted if you can't understand something. Professor can help you. If he can't, I can. So, use the data. You don't need to gobble it all up. Find yourself 2 or 3 data points that you want to focus on. What did we focus on? We focused on the number of fans. We focused on the number of fans who gamble. We focused on the number of fans that use online gambling platform in order to gamble. We focused on 3 data points. That is what leads you to a good story. Don't think you need to gobble it all up. Okay? Hey, I want to thank everybody today for their attention. Professor, I want to thank you for inviting me into class today. And I want to wish everyone good luck this term and good luck on your projects.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
You too. Take care, Neil.